It was around the year 605 BC, a time when the world trembled under the footsteps of one man. His name was Nebuchadnezzar, son of Nabopolassar, heir to the throne of Babylon, the greatest city the world had ever seen. Babylon was no ordinary city. Its walls rose so high that even the bravest armies shivered at the thought of scaling them. Its gates of bronze, its towers of stone, its glittering temples, all told one story. Here lives the King of Kings. Nebuchadnezzar was not born ordinary. From his youth, he was a soldier, a strategist, a man who carried the fire of ambition in his eyes. His first taste of power came when he led Babylon's armies against the Egyptians and crushed them in battle. When his father died, he ascended the throne and the world seemed to kneel before him. Babylon was already rich, but under Nebuchadnezzar, it became the jewel of the earth. He built palaces that shone with gold, temples that dazzled in the sunlight, and walls so wide that chariots could race on top of them side by side. And then there was the wonder that poets would sing about for centuries, the hanging gardens of Babylon. A mountain of stone filled with trees, flowers, and rivers built high above the ground, all for the sake of his queen who longed for the green hills of her homeland. Imagine walking there, the smell of roses in the air, vines curling over marble pillars, waterfalls spilling into pools all hanging in the sky. To stand there was to feel as though heaven itself had descended on earth. Nebuchadnezzar ruled not only with beauty but with terror. Nations that resisted him were crushed. Kings were dragged in chains to his throne room, their crowns stripped from their heads, their gods humiliated before the gods of Babylon. Among his captives were young men from Jerusalem, princes, scholars, men of wisdom, carried off to serve in his court. He was a lion, and the world was his prey. But behind the power and glory, behind the cheers of his people and the trembling of nations, something dangerous was growing inside Nebuchadnezzar: pride. He began to see Babylon not as a gift from above, but as the work of his own hands. Each stone, each tower, each victory, to him it was his genius, his strength, his glory. And pride, as it always does, waited like a shadow for the perfect moment to strike. Yet at this point in his life, no one dared whisper such a thought. Who would question the man who made empires bow? Who would warn the king who could silence them with a nod? Nebuchadnezzar seemed untouchable. He sat on his throne of gold, gazing at the empire that stretched further than the eye could see, and believed one thing: I am the master of the world. But history was about to show him that even the greatest king is nothing before the King of Heaven. One night a dream shook him so deeply that he woke drenched in sweat. He called for his magicians, his wise men, his counselors, the best Babylon had to offer. They bowed before him, waiting for the command of their king. Nebuchadnezzar's voice trembled with both fear and anger as he told them the vision. He had seen a tree, a mighty tree standing tall in the middle of the earth. Its top reached the heavens, its branches stretched to the ends of the world. Birds nested in it, beasts found shade beneath it, nations fed from its fruit. It was beautiful, glorious, unshakable. But then a voice from heaven thundered, "Cut it down! Strip off its branches, scatter its fruit, and drive the beasts away. Only the stump and roots are to remain, bound with iron and bronze, drenched with the dew of heaven. Let his mind be changed from that of a man to that of a beast, until 7 years pass by." The room fell silent. The magicians looked at each other, shifting nervously. No one dared to explain. They knew what it meant, but who could tell such a thing to the face of the king, who could kill them with a glance? At last, one man stood before Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel, the young Hebrew taken from Jerusalem years before, now a trusted counselor in the palace. He listened, his eyes lowered, his heart heavy, and when he spoke his words were careful, almost trembling. "My king, may this dream be for your enemies, but the truth is this: you are the tree. Your greatness has reached the heavens, your kingdom touches the ends of the earth, but your pride will cut you down. You will be driven from among men, and for 7 years you will live like a beast of the field, eating grass like cattle. Yet if you turn from your sins, if you show mercy and humility, perhaps the judgment will be delayed." Nebuchadnezzar sat in silence. His hands clenched the throne, his jaw tight. Part of him was shaken, but another part, the proud part, resisted. The warning rang in his ears, but pride has a way of softening conviction. And as the days turned into months, the dream began to fade like smoke in the wind. The king returned to his palaces, his gardens, his projects, his celebrations. The world praised him and he praised himself. But heaven does not forget. It was a bright morning in Babylon. The city gleamed under the sun, its walls stretching for miles, its towers piercing the sky, its markets bursting with the voices of traders from every nation. In the heart of it all stood the palace, a fortress of marble and gold, its balconies overlooking the city like thrones above the world. Nebuchadnezzar rose that day clothed in royal splendor. His robes shimmered with jewels, his crown glowed with precious stones. He walked slowly across the roof of his palace, gazing at the empire spread beneath him like a painted map. The Euphrates River flowed calmly through the city, carrying the lifeblood of trade and wealth. The hanging gardens swayed in the breeze, lush and green, a mountain of beauty lifted high by human hands. The king breathed in deeply, his chest swelling with pride. And then, with a voice that carried across the marble halls, he declared, "Is this not the great Babylon I have built by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" The words echoed like thunder. The courtiers and guards froze. The birds in the gardens stirred uneasily. And then, silence. But in that silence, another voice cut through, one not of earth, but of heaven. "O King Nebuchadnezzar, your kingdom has departed from you. You will be driven away from mankind and live with the beasts of the field. You will eat grass like cattle until you learn that the Most High rules over the kingdoms of men and gives them to whom he pleases." In an instant his mind shattered, his proud eyes went blank, his voice faltered, his hands shook. The King of Kings fell to the ground. Courtiers rushed to him, but the man they lifted was no longer the same. His crown slipped from his head. His words turned to rambling. His strength gave way to madness, and so the golden king of Babylon was led away from his throne, not to another palace, not to another battlefield, but to the wilderness, to the open fields where no crown glittered, where no walls protected, where the dew of heaven fell cold on his skin. That very day, the Lion of Babylon became like the beasts he once ruled over. The once mighty Nebuchadnezzar vanished from his throne, and Babylon whispered with unease. The throne room stood empty, the crown lay abandoned, and the people wondered what had become of their golden king. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said the gods had struck him, others that madness had swallowed him whole. What they did not see was the king wandering beyond the walls, a shadow of himself, stripped of reason, driven by something greater than human will. Day after day he roamed the open fields, his feet sinking into the soil, his royal garments torn to rags. Rain soaked him by night, the blazing sun burned him by day. His hair grew long and matted, hanging wild upon his shoulders. His nails curled into claws, his body bent low as he crawled upon the grass. No servant stood beside him, no guards marched in his shadow. The man who had ruled nations now shared his meals with oxen, lowering his face to the ground, chewing blades of grass with trembling jaws. 7 long years passed. Seasons changed, empires shifted, but Babylon still stood. Its markets still bustled, its walls still held firm, its gardens still bloomed. The people learned to live without their king, though his absence was felt in every corner. But Nebuchadnezzar remained outside, a broken man, a beast in form, yet still a king in name. And then, one evening, as the sun sank red over the plains and the dew of night began to fall, something stirred within him. His mind, long clouded and heavy, began to clear. His eyes, once blinded by pride and madness, lifted upward. For the first time in 7 years, he did not look at the ground beneath him, nor at the city he once built. He looked at heaven. In that moment, his reason returned. Clarity rushed in like light through an open door. The madness fled. The beast was gone. And there, kneeling on the damp earth, Nebuchadnezzar, once the proudest man alive. Whispered words he had never truly spoken before. Acknowledgement. He confessed that the Most High rules over all kingdoms, that no empire stands by human strength, and that pride is nothing before the hand of heaven. When he returned to Babylon, it was not with the roar of conquest or the glitter of pride. It was with humility. His throne was restored, his counselors gathered around him, his robes once more clothed his body. But the man who sat on that throne was no longer the same. His glory had returned, yes, but now he wore it like borrowed clothes, knowing it all came from above. Nebuchadnezzar, the golden king, had been broken, and through that breaking he had learned the greatest truth of all. Kingdoms rise and fall, men boast and stumble, but only the God of heaven reigns forever.